Okay, so Winnie the Pooh, and we are on the last step, which is assembly for Piglet. Just like with Winnie the Pooh, I'm not going to use the stick-on eyes, just because if a child ends up with it, I don't want them to be able to pull them off and eat them. I'm going to use safety eyes that I got online. The nose, I think I will try to sew the nose on. I guess we'll see how that goes. I might end up having to make one. But we got all of our parts in a mess over here. Arms and legs. Arms are the longer ones. So arms, legs. And we're going to get started. So we're going to sew the head to the body. We have to stuff them all. And before we do that, I need to put the eyes in. You can do this later if you're using the stick-on ones. So it doesn't say, it just says put eyes and nose on face. It doesn't really give us a round count. So if the ears are somewhere around round 5, 2, 4, 5, starting at 5 or ending at 5. It's got to be starting. Right, 2, 4. And the eyes are lower than that. These are a little curled in, it looks like. It looks like we're looking kind of down here for the eyes. And this is round 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So it looks like I'm going to go into 10 for the eyes. And they look to be about 3 stitches apart. So maybe right here and here. And then the nose in between. So let's punch one in. So you just work that through like we did with Winnie the Pooh. And then I'm going to count 3 stitches over, or roundabouts. So 1, 2, 3. Put it in over here. In this row? Let's try this. Well, this is a tight tension here. I guess we'll try going in there. No, too close together. These are also going to lay a little bit different because they're not just being stuck on, but that doesn't look too bad. This is laying kind of crooked. Why is that? Well, that's unfortunate. I'm gonna go find that. Okay, so I had put that through where there was an increase. I'm going to move it over one so that the opening is smaller, so it won't slip out like that. Okay, and then move this over one back where we originally had it actually. Now if you're using stick-on eyes, that won't really matter. So where's that nose? It's in here still. Okay. Nope. This way. Alright, without the ears, this just looks ridiculous. Okay, so yeah, I think we're going to put the eyes there and there, about 3 stitches apart on the 10th or 11th row or so. If you do have safety eyes, get over here. These are the backs. You put them on so that this is facing the fabric on the inside and the post goes through there like this. Okay, and then I will stuff this. Okay, so I got some stuffing. I really would prefer to sew the nose on before stuffing, but I think we'll be fine. I need enough stuffing for the body. I'm actually going to go ahead and stuff the body now so we know how much it takes. And I think the arms and legs need to be stuffed a little. It's a short tail. Am I supposed to sew with this? I can't remember. Arms. Fill the arms, yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and stuff everything that needs to be stuffed. And then I'll be back. So for the little ones, what I'm doing is I'm taking the other side of the hook and I'm folding the stuffing on itself to try to get it to be a little bit firmer, so that there's something to push, and I'm pushing it in. It's a little difficult to get started doing it, but once you do, it works okay. You end up having a pushable little spot just like that. So that's how I'm doing these little pieces. Okay, so I'm going to weave this end in now. I think I left it just in case we needed it, if I remember right. And we don't. I've been somewhat impressed with how this tiny little needle has performed so far. I a little bit wonder how well it's going to do with the actual assembly. I don't know if it's going to do well or not. Let me just take this in through here. My scissors are back here. I'm going to trim this down and let it pop back inside there. Okay, so we're going to sew the head to the body. This should be pretty straightforward. If you were just poking your eyes on, you wouldn't even have to worry about a front really at all, because you could pick the front later. I'm just going to make sure my joins are to the back. Line this up. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go in under a stitch down here. Come in under a stitch up here. Okay, and now that they're pulled together like that, I'm just going to go in through this loop and come up, goodness, through this loop. I didn't even catch that whole loop. This needle's wild. Try that again. Like that. And keep going around just like that. So catching that loop. I'm really just catching the front of that loop. For some reason, it doesn't seem important to get both in this one. Maybe because this is also small. So I'm going to continue this all the way around, and I'll be back. Okay, here we are, the other end. Now, I would have maybe wanted to stuff this a little more, but that was the stuffing I had left. You could put some of the yarn, leftover yarn, inside and stuff it with that if you think that yours isn't quite stuffed enough. I do think this would be easier with a less flexible needle, the sewing part, but it's not too bad. And I am realizing that I think that the eyes that they're provided are a little bit bigger, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. I mean, the proportions on this aren't exactly exact anyway. It's not that style, so I knotted that down. Guess I should have said something about that. And now I'm just going to weave this into a couple of stitches. And then after I do that, I will, with this needle, I can go inside the threads of the stitches, because it's so slender. I will run it through the head, pull it a little tight so that it'll go back into the head when I trim it. Okay, that's step one. Now, sew the feet to the bottom of the body. Okay, so our feet are, again, our smaller ones. This tail is too short. I don't know what I was thinking. I might as well just weave that in and use a different piece of yarn. But first leg, it doesn't say around or anything. It just says bottom of the body. So looking at this, they look to be sort of on the outside, but definitely not touching. So it looks like they're one row, like the red color, and then a row, and then attach. So like here seems to be. So red color row, and then it seems like here. So I'm just going to slip under here to start me off marking where I want to be. Okay, and then make sure this is organized so that it's not sitting up here like this, but rather facing this way down here. And then I'm just going to do something similar to what I just did. It might be easier to work this way. I think it would be easier to work this way. Let me get a piece of this down here. We're going to try to make our yarn not show that much, but with it being so small, I feel like that's going to be kind of hard. Okay, so now that I'm facing this way, I'm going to do similar to what I just did, which is just, I think this is whip stitch, loop around both like this all the way around. I'm going to try to hold it so that it's going to stay left, right. If you wanted to use pins, you certainly could. I'm just kind of lazy. I really think at this point a less flexible needle would be helpful, but we're just using the one that came with the kit because it came with the kit. What are you doing? Go under. Can you go under? Okay. We're slowly getting somewhere. So, just like that, with all that struggle, I'm just going to keep going around. So, I will be back. Okay, so I'm all the way back around. I'm now just going to tie off. And since this is pretty short anyway, I'm just going to run this in through the leg and down and trim it off, and then we'll do the other one. Okay, since I cut this tail too short, I just wove that tail in and got a longer piece, and I'm gonna just try to line it up kind of the same way and get this sewed on. So I'm looking at about here. Hopefully this gets sewed on okay. And I'm gonna do the second one and be back. Okay, so I've got this other leg on. I'm gonna tie these two ends together and then weave them in. If you have a different needle, I would consider switching to it. This one, since it's so flexible, you're really at the mercy of wherever it wants to go. Like whatever stitch it can work its way through for sewing the legs on, and I wasn't able to put them exactly where I wanted. This one I had to end up moving further in just so that I could get through stitches. So I think that would be helpful if you wanted to do that. I'm going to run these ends both through this leg and then come back. Okay, so now the arms. The arms, they give us a round count. They say about round 2. Let me trim the end of this off. So we're going to try to get these arms on somewhat in the same spot. Okay, so here's an arm, and this is going to be, it says round 2 counted from above. I don't know what they mean by that, unless they mean of the head, but you're not sewing them to the head. Also, where does it say switch to dark roses round 4? Okay, so if this switch to dark rose, this is then 5. So 3, we lost a couple rounds. So I'm just basically going to sew these right up against the neck is what I'm going to do. Now let's try to get them in line with the legs. And then looks like I want this to go, I'm going to do it right here. Okay. Let me tuck that in there, kind of how I want it to go. Hold that there. And I'm going to sew this down. I actually kind of wish I had closed this, and I have half a mind to do it now because it'd be easier to sew on. Yeah, I'm going to close this because it looks like it wants to be sewed on flat. I will do this with the other arm as well. I'm just going to come under each stitch on each side to close it off and flatten the top a little to make it easier to sew on. Like that. And then line this up with the leg basically and just sew this one. Now little pieces like this, I tend to kind of do this where I pull it down to make space so I can actually sew it how I want, and then I'll pull tight later. Okay, one more and we should be okay here. Hey, don't do that. Okay. This looks like it could use a little more securing. Let's pull this tight. How are you looking? All right, so I'm gonna come in under here to the back. And then I'm just gonna try to grab a couple of stitches underneath here and see, like sew to right here as well. So I'm just gonna grab bits of this thread up here, come down, and do that across. And then after we get this stitch in, we'll tie this off. Okay, so I'm going to tie this off, thread this in through the arm like I did with the leg, and then I'm going to sew the other one on the same way. And I will be back. I really think this head needs some more stuffing, and I happen to have stuffing. So I'm going to do basically the same thing I was doing with my hook, but like through one of these slightly bigger join spots with stuffing until I think that looks better. But anyway, in the meantime, I'm going to sew this closed and then line it up same spot, so right up against the neck and in line with the leg, and sew this on, and I'm going to stuff this head more and I'll be back. Okay, both arms on. I added a lot more stuffing. Honestly, I think it could use more, but I got frustrated with that, so here we are. Ears to the head, somewhere around round 5. I'm going to sew these shut as well. The placement for the ears is always fussy, I feel like. But we'll see what we can do. Okay, let's see. So I'll just sew these both across like this before attaching them. Okay, I'm going to tighten that a little to give it a little bit of a cup because it seems to have one. And then count 2, 4, and then 5 right here. Okay, so it looks like we're going for kind of like this. And now I'm going to get underneath the stitch just so I can get one here. That looks okay to me. So I'm gonna lay this down like this, and do you want to be further down? Because 5 is really right there. That seems low. All right, we're gonna go. Unless 5 is the bottom. 5 really might be the bottom. We're gonna pretend that 5 is the bottom. And I'm gonna fold this down like this to make this easier. And then just grab the stitches up there. Grab something down here. And do that across. Like this. And hope that this... Oh, this needle is getting really annoying. I should probably just switch to something else. Let's see, tighten that. Get one more in this mess here. Tighten. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, so we're gonna say that that looks fine because I'm tired of dealing with this needle. I probably should move it down a little, but you know, we're not going to. So I'm gonna tie this off and then run it through the ear. And then try to position and sew the other one on the same way. And then we will be almost done. Honestly, if this needle wasn't so annoying, I would probably be weaving these in a little bit more, but as it stands, I'm getting pretty fed up with it because it flexes all the time and it's hard to get it through the stitches I want it to go through. So I'm going to close this one up, tighten it down a little. And then position, I'm just going to do it by eye, kind of out there. I'm going to sew this on the same way I did the other one, and then I'll be back. Okay, ears on, and now the nose. I'm going to stick on first, and then I'll sew it down a little, just with normal needle and thread that I have. And it just goes between the eyes. We want to try to get it centered. Okay, like so. And now, where's my... So I don't have a great match. I have this, which is a very, very light pink. And I think we're just gonna go with this. These stitches are just gonna have to show. I'll try to do them somewhat neatly so that, where's the opening thingy? So that they don't look awful, but they might just look kind of fussy. But other than that, if you're just using the stick-on for display, you're done. And just gonna put, now with this, I've sewn felt on before, and I haven't heard anything about it coming apart or whatever. So first I'm gonna kind of tuck under here on one side under a stitch if you happen to also want to sew yours down like this. And then I'm going to, before I pull that knot through, I'm going to go through here because the felt isn't that, it's porous. So I feel like it could let the knot pull through. And then I'm just going to come up through the felt on the edge here. Then I'm going to go down, making sure I get underneath the crochet stitches. It's going to be difficult because this is going to move around, but I'll straighten it as I go. I got that done, and now I'm going to straighten that back up. And then I'm going to see where my thread is coming out naturally and go through the nose kind of at that point. Okay. And I'm spacing them out a little because I feel like it weakens, line back up, weakens the felt to have holes poked through it. And I'm not pulling too tight because I don't want it to look funky. Okay, we come up about here. Okay. And I'm manipulating the crochets with my hand to try, my thumb, to try to get it to come out close to where I want it to. Okay, almost done. Okay, so this next one is going to be where I tie off. So I'm just going to kind of go in. Come out somewhere else. Try to adjust this a little bit. It got shifted around a little, but that's just gonna have to do. And then try to get back under here one more time to get under a stitch, or even under my thread from previously, to knot this. Like that. And then go in under the nose and then push my needle back to come out the other end. And then trim. Okay, my nose definitely got a little crooked, but I didn't just want to stick it on there. Now my needle's sticky. I'll clean it later. Okay, so with that, here is Piglet. Here is Winnie the Pooh. And these guys are done. So I hope this was helpful. And I should be able to finish the cactus pot soon.